North Korea launches a missile early on Tuesday morning. This is the 5th round of launches in just 10 days. South Korea's military are looking into the missile's speed and range. The parliament convenes its first audit of the Yoon Administration on Tuesday. Throughout the 20-day session, lawmakers will demand documents and subpoena witnesses in efforts to keep the executive body in check. While Russia may have conducted its so-called annexation referendum, Ukrainian forces fight hard to start retaking southern regions. Good morning. Welcome to New Day at Arirang. Just over an hour ago, North Korea launched an intermediate-range ballistic missile eastward. According to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, the missile crossed through Japanese airspace. The South Korean military is analyzing further details to see the exact type of missile launched. This is the North's 5th round of ballistic missile launches in the last 10 days. North Korea has fired 7 short-range ballistic missiles during the last week alone. This year, the regime has fired ballistic missiles a total of 21 times and cruise missiles twice. Now, let's dig deeper into this launch as well as the other 7 missiles Pyongyang launched last week alone. We have Professor Kim Young-jun from the National Security College with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, many turn to the joint military exercise by South Korea, the U.S., and Japan as the main reason for the turbulent week last week. But the exercises are done now. So why is North Korea continuing with the launches?
Yes, this is the 9 missile tests during the Yoon administration, including the last one, and the 21st test for 2022. Yeah, absolutely. This is a reaction to the Iraq, Japan, U.S. military exercise in East Sea recently, also as well as the South Korean missile development like Hyunmyeong missile. So North Korea will do missile tests continuously for a while, and this kind of short and middle range missile test is not just aiming at the U.S. continent like New York or Washington, D.C., but more focusing on the U.S. military base in Guam or Okinawa or in Japan, and also as well as South Korea and Japan.
So yes, you briefly mentioned, but let's talk about the type of missile launch. Short-range ballistic missiles aren't typically threatening, as those types aren't known to carry nuclear weapons. Should South Korea still see this as a threat, considering the frequency of such launches?
Absolutely, this type of short range and middle range missile is absolutely a threat. And North Korea has a planning to the 7 nuclear weapon tests. This will be the tactical nuclear weapon test. So this type of short and middle range missile is very fit for the tactical nuclear weapons like the Russian Iskander system. So these types of SLBM or IRBM, like the KN-23, 24, and 25 is very much like for tactical nuclear weapons for the future plan of North Korea.
Now, will there be stronger sanctions by the international community as a result of the multiple missile launches last week?
Yes, and international community will try to do sanction against North Korean nuclear missile tests, absolutely. But sanction will be very difficult without cooperation of the Russia and China in this situation, especially U.S.-Russian relation and U.S.-China competition since the Russian-Ukraine war. So with the big looping hole of this sanction regime, an international community needs to try to opening up and kind of negotiation talks with North Korea.
So while we have you here, how long do you think this is going to continue? I mean, before the administration, this wasn't as frequent as we saw, but with the change of administration and recently, especially last week, it's been more frequent. How do you see this continuing, or is this going to die down after some time has passed since the military exercise?
The important factor in changing North Korean attitudes is not just about the change of Iraq administration, because already 21st test for 2022 and 9th test during the Yoon administration. Over the 10 days, they have the 5 missile range test. So this is their own plan rather than the change of the Iraq administration. Also, Russian-Ukraine war and new Cold War situation definitely impact on the North Korean action because we do have China and Russian cooperation for sanction. The sanction does not work. So now is North Korea recognize China, Russia will not join any kind of sanction, especially led by U.S. So this is a golden opportunity for North Korea to develop their nuclear missile tests, whether South Korean government regime. So this will be continue, and for a while, during the new Cold War situation, North Korea will continuously conduct nuclear and missile tests with their plan.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and you had such short time to look into it, but as always, your analysis were very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, starting Tuesday, the National Assembly will convene for the first audit of the Yoon administration. Over the next 20 days, some 780 government ministries, agencies, and public institutions will be subject to the scrutiny of lawmakers. With the session coming just 5 months since the Yoon administration kicked off, rival political parties are expected to clash with criticism of the current administration and the former Moon Jae-in government. The ruling People Power Party will likely to press the main opposition Democratic Party over North Korean policies, solar power, and criminal allegations surrounding its chairman, Lee Jae-myung. The DP is expected to put pressure on the government over the president's recent overseas trip, corporate tax cuts, and the government's response to the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act. Ahead of Tuesday's parliamentary audit session, the government and the ruling People Party met on Monday to discuss government restructuring plans. The government will focus now on how to better serve overseas Koreans, the space industry, and gender equality. Lee Kyung-eun has the details.
5 months after taking office, the Yoon administration is set to get started on restructuring the government, one of President Yoon's key election pledges.
I hope to see an effective and systemic restructure, which should contribute to the success of a Yoon government.
The ruling People Power Party, which will be tasked with pushing through necessary laws, vowed to give full support on a parliamentary level.
We need to start related discussions to back the Yoon government's policy goals centered on coexistence, freedom, peace, prosperity, and becoming a global leader.
There will likely be 3 major changes: one, setting up an independent government agency for overseas Koreans, an upgrade of the current Overseas Korean Foundation run by the Foreign Ministry. The goal is to provide 7.3 million Koreans living overseas access to a range of one-stop government services, from passport issuance to taxes. And President Yoon reaffirmed his pledge during his recent trip to New York.
미국 사회에서 합당한 권리를 누리고 한인 동포 사회가 더욱 발전할 수 있도록 정부로서도 최선의 노력을 다하겠습니다.
Second, setting up a space agency in line with the Korean version of NASA plan President Yoon pledged to establish during his 100 days in office press conference. Last but not least, abolishing the current Gender and Family Ministry, a topic that's been hotly debated since the election. The most likely plan is to transfer the essential tasks currently carried out by the department elsewhere, like to the Health Ministry. But the success of the plan, especially the last part, requires the cooperation of the Democratic Party, which holds a supermajority. The DP opposes the plan. Young-eun, Arirang News.
People in South Korea will now be able to have more contact with family members during visits to nursing facilities. Starting Tuesday, the government lifted the COVID-19 prevention measures, which meant that visitors and patients were separated by transparent walls, a rule which was reinstated back at the end of July when the current wave picked up pace. One thing to keep in mind, visits have to be pre-scheduled and a rapid antigen test is required for entry. As for the new cases, as of 9 p.m. Monday, the country confirmed 15,725 new cases, marking a continued downward trend. Samsung SDI joined the RE100 initiative, a global campaign that aims for 100% renewable energy by the year 2050. The battery maker pledges to use renewable energy across all of its workplaces, including overseas plants in Hungary and China. SDI is now the second Samsung subsidiary to join the campaign after Samsung Electronics last month. RE100, which stands for Renewable Energy 100%, was started in 2014 by the Climate Group in partnership with the Carbon Disclosure Project. Close to 400 corporations worldwide have joined, including Apple, Google, Microsoft, and General Motors. Despite Russia holding disputed referendums to annex parts of Ukraine, Ukrainian forces remained motivated to fight back. And its military achieved its biggest breakthrough in the war so far in the southern parts of the country, breaking through Russian defenses and making rapid advancements. Kim Yo-sun has the latest.
Ukrainian forces are making ground in the southern part of the country in a renewed counteroffensive. That's according to the country's president during his nightly address on Monday, where he said that more settlements are being liberated.
Today, the offensive movement of our army and all our defenders continued. There are newly liberated settlements in several regions.
According to Ukraine's other military command, the country's forces are gaining a foothold within liberated areas of the southern Kherson region. The area is one of the 4 regions that Russia says it, quote, annexed last week following referendums, which President Zelensky says he cannot recognize.
There are clear and internationally recognized borders around Ukraine. There are lives we must protect. There is security that we must restore, and there will be all that. We are doing this.
These latest developments come on the heels of news that Ukraine had claimed full control of the city of Lyman, an area that has served as a transport and logistics hub for Russian operations in the north of the Donetsk province. This was dubbed Ukraine's most significant battlefield gains in weeks, providing the groundwork for Ukrainian forces to make further advancements. Meanwhile, the head of the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine has been released, according to the UN nuclear watchdog, following a temporary detention that Ukraine blamed on Russia and called an act of terror. Kim Yo-sun, Arirang News.
The UK government on Monday dropped its plans to cut income tax for top earners after major market turbulence and opposition from the public. The proposed tax cut was part of a stimulus package of unfunded cuts unveiled only days ago. Lee Si-woo reports.
On Monday, the UK government reversed its plans to lower the top rate of income tax paid on earnings above £150,000 or around $167,000 a year from 45% to 40%. The plan was part of a stimulus package that included £45 billion or $50 billion in tax cuts to be paid for by government borrowing. The package was announced on September 23rd, just 2 weeks into Prime Minister Liz Truss's leadership. In the days following the announcement, the British pound plunged to a record low against the dollar. Mortgage deals were pulled from the market amid fears that the bank would soon hike interest rates, causing turmoil for people wishing to buy homes. UK government bonds also began to sell off at a record rate, causing the Bank of England to intervene and begin a temporary purchase program to calm volatility. There also was a heavy backlash from the public, even among conservatives. This led the UK government to eventually confirm that it would be scrapping its proposed plans to cut income tax for top earners.
We're absolutely listening to them. I think it's really important, actually, that people who hold office aren't just sticking their heads in the sand, but are listening to the wider conversation. And that's why we've decided not to proceed with the abolition of the rate, the 45p rate. And we're not doing that. And we're listening.
The pound rose after the reversal announcement to around $1.12 about the value it held before the budget announcements. Meanwhile, the finance minister also said on Monday that the government plans to keep its other tax policies, including a cut next year in the basic rate of income tax and a reversal of a corporation tax hike planned by the previous government. Lee Si-hu, Arirang News.
One of the most common diseases in larger dogs is hip dysplasia, which leads to difficulty in walking. A local research team became the first in the world to find a way to fix this mutation using genetic editing technology. Yoon explains further.
Labrador retrievers are known for their friendly, outgoing, and high-spirited demeanor, which also makes them one of the world's favorite dogs. But all too often, these dogs are born with a genetic deformity in the hips that leads to them being abandoned. Hip dysplasia is a result of a mutation that causes abnormal formation of the hip socket. More common in larger dogs like the Labrador Retriever and the German Shepherd breeds, this mutation occurs during inbreeding. Now, a local research team has successfully cloned a dog where the gene that causes the hip abnormality has been corrected in what is a world first. The research team first collected skin cells from the ear of an 18-month-old Labrador Retriever. Then, using a fourth-generation genome editing technology called prime editing, a single strand of DNA was cut out and corrected sequencing for the mutant gene was inserted. Then a technique called somatic cell nuclear transfer was used, where the nucleus of a corrected cell was injected into an egg that had already had its nucleus removed. Meet 18-month-old pups Jean and Jenny. Jenny's the cloned retriever born after genome editing was completed. X-ray imaging shows an abnormality in the hip socket of the original dog, which has been corrected in the images of the cloned dog as a result of the genetic modification.
Prime Editor is a fourth-generation genome editing technology. We did an experiment to see if we could edit the mutation to a normal status. Only 18 months old, but we see the correction was successful and the dog can walk normally.
The findings of this research were published in the online edition of the international academic journal Scientific Report. The research team explained that this genetic disease correction technology can be used for larger working dogs with duties like detecting, rescue, or assistance. The team is also furthering research to correct a genetic retinal disease that's common in smaller dogs. 이은진, Arirang News.
Now for a look at the news from around the world, we turn to our Matthew Ashley, standing by at the Arirang newsroom. Good morning.
Good morning, Doyon.
Now let's start in Indonesia, where investigations have begun following the deaths of more than 100 people in a stampede at a football stadium.
Well, that's right, Doyon. Indonesia's police chief and 9 other senior officers were relieved of duty on Monday, while a further 18 are under investigation. Now, this follows a stampede inside a football stadium on Saturday in East Java's Malang city that saw at least 125 people killed, including 32 children. Now, hundreds of others were injured in the crash, which was triggered by police firing tear gas into the crowd. Authorities on the case are speaking to witnesses, analyzing CCTV footage, and looking at cell phones of victims. The incident began when fans of the home team, Arema FC, stormed the pitch after the game. Arema's club president has said he is ready to take full responsibility for the disaster. Now, the 2022 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine has been awarded to the scientist who sequenced the Neanderthal genome. Swedish scientist Svante Pääbo was given the award on Monday for his work on evolution, which has also provided insights into the human immune system. The 67-year-old also discovered a new ancestral human subspecies, Denisova, and found that they had transferred genes with modern-day humans over 70,000 years ago. In a 2020 study, he also found that people with trace amounts of Neanderthal DNA were at higher risk of severe COVID-19 complications. The Nobel Prize carries a cash award of roughly $900,000. The prize for literature will be awarded this Thursday, and the Peace Prize this Friday. Now, actor and Native American activist Sachin Littlefeather died on Sunday of breast cancer at the age of 75. Littlefeather is known for declining Marlon Brando's Oscar for The Godfather on his behalf on live television in 1973. Brando, at the time, cited his support for Native American rights as his reason, referring to Native American activists protesting government inaction on treaties. Littlefeather also denounced the treatment of American Indians by the film industry, but guests at the awards show booed her off stage and made rude gestures. Her death comes just 2 weeks after the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences publicly apologized for the incident and called her appearance a powerful statement. And in our final story, Kim Kardashian has agreed to pay a $1.26 million fine over a cryptocurrency ad. According to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, she was charged for not disclosing she was paid $250,000 to promote Ethereum Max on her Instagram page in June 2021. Kardashian also agreed to pay back the $250,000 and received plus interest and agreed not to promote crypto assets for the next 3 years. Now, the fine comes as Kardashian, the creators of Ethereum Max, and other celebrities were sued by crypto investors in January. Now, this is over allegations they worked to pump and dump the coin by inflating its price through misleading promotion. Kardashian has said she will continue to cooperate with the SEC in their investigation into the coin.
Good morning. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with the latest weather updates. The capital saw heavy rain yesterday. Paju and some central regions actually saw record-breaking October rainfall. And right now, rain clouds have moved to southern parts of the country and are forecast to drop heavy rain of around 20 millimeters an hour through the morning. So southwestern regions, including Jeollado provinces, could see 20 to 60 millimeters today. East of Gangwon-do province could see up to 80 millimeters of heavy rain into tomorrow. And this band of rain will bring much chillier air to the country. Tomorrow morning, we're looking at temperatures dipping down to 13 degrees Celsius here in the capital. I mean, we can notice that chillier air moving in from this afternoon. Most parts of the country will have afternoon highs that are similar to morning temperatures. So Seoul will be going up to just 20 degrees Celsius. Daegu, Gyeongju will top out at 25 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Now, east of Gangwon-do province will see rain all through the week, while low temperatures will drop down to 10 degrees Celsius at the end of the week here in the capital. With that, here's a look at the weather conditions around the globe.
And that wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for our Wednesday's edition at the same time. Please stay with Arirang News for more updates throughout the day. Have a lovely day or evening wherever you are, and take care.